you almost think you know everything walking in the door. And geez, like I was a baby, hey.
You said that you've seen the growth, but people outside didn't.
It was kind of satisfying in a way, to be honest. Like, I've had heaps of, like, ex-coaches and all that kind of thing, like, oh, West Coast, like, rah-rah. And I'm just sitting there like, you wait. Like, you know what I mean?
To get a female coach in who gets women, gets how they think, is just like, it's got to be relieving, right?
Yeah, well, she just gets it. And she's so vulnerable with us about her experiences in playing, which then you're like, oh, you're not Daisy Pearce, like, you're just Days to us.
This podcast is brought to you by Woodside Energy, helping young players develop and grow as the official sponsor of the Fremantle Dockers Next Generation Academy. Woodside Energy, supporting local footy. Welcome back to Dubya. I'm Caitlin Bassett and I'm back in town, joined by Rosie Deegan. Thank you so much for holding down the fort for me while I was gone.
I'm the only thing stable. In W at this point in time, it's ridiculous.
Look, I'm not going to lie. I've been in Canada for the last 3 weeks, although you and Jackson like to say you sent me off to ruck camp. I wasn't. I was on a little holiday, but I was also a little bit jealous. Like, it was tough watching you guys have so much fun with the guests that you had, and we've got another amazing guest in Bella Lewis for us today. But I did listen and I did have a few comments and retorts to some of the things that you said about me while I wasn't here.
It wasn't me. It was never me.
I mean, the funniest thing was, and you'll hear it in this episode today, you talk about LeBron James and you apologised to LeBron James, but you never apologised to me knowing that I would be listening to these episodes.
Well, I think you've been great for Australian netball, I do. But I don't think you've quite hit the scale of LeBron James. So if I was going to rank who I wanted to apologise to first, because you never know what LeBron James is scrolling through Spotify and just stumbles upon us, thinks it's once again about George W. Bush. And he goes, oh, I'd like to inform myself. And then bang. I'm ripping on LeBron James.
This is true. Well, you did rip pretty hard on me. Obviously, my football kicking ability was brought up a few times. My pre-season choices in who I thought was going to win the premiership, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon for Brisbane. I actually legitimately think they are going to win. So
That's why North Melbourne went undefeated?
I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. So, look, but it has been a huge few weeks of footy. Freo obviously wrapped up their campaign on the weekend. Thoughts on that game?
Oh, we were talking about before, and it's a bad analogy, but it was a bit of a Mike Tyson, Jake Paul out there. I just think Adelaide seriously looked a lot better and were outclassed them in pretty much every facet of the game. It just kind of, for me, it just shows the step up that these WA teams kind of have to have in when they're competing against, because Adelaide's not even top, right? And Adelaide smacked them out of the park, and it was a pretty non-competitive game in terms of from the first siren. So I think the WA teams, it'll be like a good step to be like, all right, we've got a ways to go. Like, we're on the right track. We made finals. We won some pretty good games, but like the top teams are kind of flying away with it right now. So I've got to close that.
Yeah, look, whoever did the scheduling on the weekend obviously didn't realise that the AFLW finals
Big
were on
clash.
Because it was Tyson or it was that, and I was flicking between the two madly. But I guess if you are one of the Dockers members, would you look back at this season and think it was a success, thinking all the injuries they had, so no Kiara Bowers, no Ange Stannard, Anya Tai went down early on in the season, yet they still managed to make finals. Do you think they'll look back and see this as successful?
Yeah, no, I think it was a really successful season from if you look at the front of exactly what you explained. Like, I think they've done really well. I think when you get those pieces back, and hopefully they're the same players they were before, then Freo are looking a lot more competitive with those top teams. Like, they're looking more competitive in the forward line. Mim Strong is playing insane, so you've got that coming into the future. And you've got some really class midfielders, and it's just about building up that base now. I think they're going to be really competitive. I think Eagles are going to be competitive. I think Freo are kind of coming into their stride to be premiership contenders in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think with those three big names out, it did give the opportunity for a few youngies to step up, and we saw Tanisha Kicker. She came out and had an absolute blinding season. Hetherington, Bidenweg Webster, like, there's some exciting future, as well as, you know, Ash McCarthy, your Brazel and your Newton, who as recruits came in and did an amazing job. Let's flip the script though and talk about our guest this week. Bella Lewis, you recorded this episode just before I got back from Canada, so It's been great to listen to her. And you and Jacko talked to her, I guess, about the 2024 season for the Eagles and whether they saw it as a success and some of the insight on what the changes were within their group. It was pretty cool, hey?
Yeah, and like her mentality, and we've spoken to a lot of Eagles girls this year, and you've kind of seen it across the board. They've had this huge mentality switch, and it was really good to see Bella talk about it, and especially from the side that the media and the fans don't usually get to see. So, like, she's seeing changes, and she saw changes last year that we weren't able to see, and she kind of attests to that. Even in the last games, where probably the fans are going, oh, they're looking like the old Eagles here. She says we still have heaps of takeaways from those games that are positive, and I think we're moving in the right direction. So it was a really interesting chat. She's a lovely girl. She's one of my mates, so she's a great things to say about her, at least, yeah.
Well, here's our chat with Bella Lewis.
Bella Lewis, welcome to the W podcast. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You've obviously, your season's done now. Unfortunately, you would love to be playing this time of year, but how do you kind of look back on your first year under Daisy? And it was easily the most successful year you've ever had. It must have been a good vibe around the club this year.
Yeah, we started strong. It was really good. I think the change from last year and not just Days, but a lot of the coaching staff that came in and a couple of the new girls and the fresh faces was, it was really energising and super uplifting.
We'll do a bit more on Daisy and the rest of the season later, but tell us a little bit about where your footy journey started. Were you playing footy straight away, or did that take a little while?
Well, I know exactly where this is going. No,
Did you bounce straight into footy, or?
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, good.
No, I from Sydney originally, so they were more rugby. So I was like a gym gal, did gymnastics, did swimming, did whatever sport.
Yeah.
Tried my hand in basketball, wasn't very good at it.
Probably the height's a little restricted.
Yeah, I reckon. But then my pop was a massive Sydney Swan supporter, so I was always into footy but never just played it. And then we moved over here when I was about 11, and then I started doing trampolining.
There it is.
Great.
That's exactly that's the comment we wanted.
Yeah.
Trampoline.
That's the grab. That's the grab for the socials.
Exactly.
Which is niche. The reason I started doing it was because I just like bouncing on my friends' trampolines in the backyard.
I mean, it's quite a good sport.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's
hard.
scored.
Yeah.
Is it still an Olympic sport? It was an Olympic sport for a while.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Is it still?
I don't know.
Did breakdancing take over? Let's not go there. She's just retired, guys.
Yeah. We'll leave that out.
That where it lies.
With you, right?
So you could have been an Olympian.
I don't know if I was that good. I don't know. I had the height for it. And
Would you have transitioned into diving?
I did think about it. I did actually think about it, but I did tramp. I started tramp and footy at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And so then I got to the point where I was like,
I'm quite good at footy.
yeah, I just liked it more.
So were you footy straight away when you moved over?
Yeah. I was actually Adrian Barrett. I went down to Subi Junior Footy Club and he was president at the time. And now he likes to claim that he's found me.
Oh, he discovered the talent.
He's claimed a few
me.
people.
And he always
he
saw you kicking one time. He said, she'll be great for the Eagles one day.
She's got potential. Yeah.
And then how did you land at Claremont?
Claremont, then I went, so I didn't know there was a waffle. So I went to Scarborough Junior Footy Club and I played a game there, but I was too old. And the coach for that team was Adele Arnott.
Yeah.
And she played at Claremont. So then she said, just come down. And then I went there and that's, really where the pathway started.
I think the interesting thing with the AFLW girls, because the pathway's never been, for the younger girls it is now, but never quite as clear as AFL. At what point did you realise, this is something that I could actually, seriously do?
Probably when I got to Claremont, I think.
Okay.
And I think, I always knew I wanted to play, but again, there wasn't that clear pathway that I knew of anyway. And whether or not that was because I'd just moved or because I couldn't see that as a vision, I don't know. But, I think once I started playing for Claremont and once I was told you maybe could be good at this, then I think that's when.
Were you always a midfielder, always playing on ball?
Yeah, I was. Yep. And a little bit half forward.
Yeah.
But always, in the youth girls, I was always on ball.
That, natural ball hunting and ball winning ability seems like something that comes pretty easy to you. Was that always the type of player you were?
Yeah, and I think that came down to where my strengths were. So tackling was always my strength and running was always my strength. And then kind of have always had this edge, which I think all ball hunters, all footballers anyway, do have. But that was, my strength and how I could use that to be a potential draft target later on.
Rosie's done it, but what about your like first days at the Eagles? Talk us through from like your first conversations with them to like first conversations like walking through the doors and being at like such a massive club.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting looking back at it now because you almost think you know everything walking in the door, not in an arrogance kind of way, but like, oh, this is a new chapter, like I'm going to do this and this and how I'm going to work hard and become, one of the best that I can be. And geez, like I was a baby, hey, like walking into a club was just so like breathtaking. And the team that I walked into, I was the youngest by years. So it was like me, I was 17. Then we had Sinead Davison, who was 18, and Bowen, who was 19, would have been. Yeah. And then above that was 24, 25. So I was always a bit of a cheeky 17, 18-year-old, so I learnt to mature pretty quickly when I walked into that environment.
Humbled quick.
Yeah, I was humbled quick, and I always had a good attitude, but I had to be pulled into line a couple of times. And
do they try and like take that out of you a little bit? Like, do you grow up fast, or are they pretty happy like, we've got these younger girls, we kind of let them go a little bit?
Yeah, I think nowadays definitely.
Yeah.
And Daze sees the strength in that. So she talks a lot about everyone having lots of different big personalities and how like we make reference to the 06 was when they won the premiership in 06 and they just had a bunch of lunatics is what they called.
Yeah.
And they were all super big personalities and in that comes playing an exciting brand of footy. So that's kind of how we reference, obviously not the behaviour that they had.
Happened in 06,
but
separate from that.
Yeah, separate from that. But in terms of letting the girls be who they want to be, for sure.
Well, on that, like this kind of jumps a little bit, but you had Chris Judd at the club a couple of weeks ago who has obviously gone on to massive things, but he's a West Coast great. What was that like and what did you take out of that? Yeah,
it was awesome. I've always been a massive fan. I remember reading his book and finished reading the book and I was like, I'm going to start needling my neck. Like, this is great.
He was a freak, wasn't he?
He was a freak and went to the absolute ends of the earth to be the best. And that's exactly what his story, what he kind of said to us. And it's funny, like, how he's different. He's a different guy, but I think you've got to be different to be that good.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I've been saying that, like, I wonder how many of the greats of, like, every sport, if you met them, you'd be, like, weird.
Bit odd.
Yeah, like super wired, like
really wired.
Intense.
Have you guys seen Starting Five on Netflix?
No,
the
I've heard that
one?
though.
Literally the first scene is LeBron James like eyeballing a camera in his car and just rapping. And it's like, this guy's actually like a bit of a freak.
LeBron James is the biggest meme. Have you seen all the memes on him? Like, well, he's never going to see this. I don't know why I was going to apologise to him. LeBron, shout out. No, but like him just like...
Sorry, LeBron, if you're listening.
Yeah, sorry, LeBron, if you tune into Dubya. Like him just like lying. He's like, yo, like, I love this song. And he's like, and like rapping like none of the words. And everyone's like, but then he's so good at basketball. You're like, all right, let him go.
I think they're all a bit weird, right? Like you see that sort of access to people at that level of their game. And you're like, yeah, you're a bit of a weirdo.
I'm like Messi and Ronaldo. I'd love to just know what they do in their casual time.
Same.
Like, or are they just completely wired, like, all the time? Like, imagine them watching TV. I can't.
Was it cool to have Juddy in the room, given that 06 has obviously been a little bit of a theme at the club?
Yeah, it was really cool. And to hear his perspective of it all and, like, he spoke a lot to us anyway about when their premiership was won, and it was actually won 2 years before they won the flag, which resonated a lot with us. And now when we talk about our moments and our catalyst moments, we talk about, what can be the moment or what can be the game that then leads us to that premiership. So his insight in that was, it resonated really strongly with a lot of us.
Is that kind of what you're hunting, like, particularly with some of your really good wins at the start of the season? Was that kind of in your head a little bit, like moments like this, like moments like the Richmond win and stuff like that are kind of like, just building blocks as part of that, and every time you win you get used to it and that sort of culture? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it comes with evidence, doesn't it? Like, that's kind of what we needed to get first to show that we really could compete with other teams, and what then came with that was the belief as well. But I think the belief for us came before the evidence, and that was a big change in having Days come in and the success that she's had. And then we also had another person who was really good for it was Verity Simmons, who came from netball, which you wouldn't expect a netballer to come in, but she's been so successful at the Fever, and her mindset around it was, she was kind of shocked about the mindset when she walked in and was like, what? Like, what do you mean? We can win and rah, rah. So it was just again, this really energising. Yeah.
She's an all-time professional.
She's so professional. Yeah, she's unreal. And just a real athlete. So, and then, so we have those games, like your Richmond games, and then also the games, like the Port game was probably a really big game for us in terms of finals, and then Geelong and Sydney would have been good games as well. So, you have those catalyst moments that you do want to redeem and kind of stay in your...
For you guys, did you see... Was there a shift in the group? Because obviously the results showed you guys didn't get the results, and particularly in Sydney. Did you guys, and was it a comment by Daisy saying I think we've lost focus because we've lost finals? Or was it just you were just genuinely outclassed by these opponents? Or do you think you just didn't put your best foot forward?
Yeah, I think there was probably a combination of all of it. And the drive from Days and Darren Harris, who's come in and been our values and leadership consultant, is they're very forward focused and future focused. So a lot of those games and those improvements that we made was all about progress. Mm-hmm. So there was probably a couple games where on the outside you'd be like, oh, geez, they get a spray for that. Yeah. But for us this year, it was so much about progress, and there was still growth in those games. And the games where there were, bigger scores and that kind of thing, there was still a lot of progress that we can kind of take forward from them. Yeah.
Was there a frustration around the last few weeks of the season though? Because you were so competitive in games for the first 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, frustration not with each other, but just more all of us being athletes and being so competitive. And that's one of the things we pride in our team is that competitiveness. So there's definitely, there's kind of what do they call the unfinished business or the edge that they want to call classic. But it's definitely something that kind of you can hold in the annoyance. I'm sure you'd feel that the annoyance that that season, although it was an amazing season, we could have
there was a higher ceiling.
There was an even higher ceiling that we could have taken.
Yeah.
We spoke about it when we did our top 10, and players like Ali Drennan were popping up, and you've had Hosking as well, and Verity Simmons in a different sort of sense. Yep. Do you feel like the experienced girls have helped you stay competitive in games for longer? And I think I know the answer to that. But also, what's the benefit of that? So, players even younger than you, young players, what do they get out of playing close games that you might not have otherwise last year, and just being a better side generally? Yeah,
well, you learn, I found what I've learnt from last year compared to this year is last year I think we lost 3 or 4 games by 3 or 4 points. Mm-hmm. And again, that could have looked completely different last year. And then this year you look at Richmond, you look at, I don't even remember what the other games were, but we won them by a collective of 12 points.
Yeah.
And the more experienced players and your Hoscos and your Drenos 100% contribute to that, and a lot around their mindset of it. Dreno's very just go, doesn't, we'll fight till the end. Same with Hosco. So having that around the younger girls really helps, I think. And then I also think the difference between winning more than we did last year in terms of the type games was our belief, to be honest. We would get to this season, we got to maybe half-time and we'd be even. And, there were a couple of games later on in the season where we just let that go. But earlier on the season, we didn't.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the difference.
It's an interesting debate, right? And there are men's teams doing it, like North Melbourne's one, where they keep bringing in experienced guys. And maybe it takes up the spot of an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, but being able to, the 19-year-olds that you've got, being able to keep them in games for longer and have them playing competitive football is super important, right?
100%, yeah. And that's, I think, we're trying to get the balance of that, with our young girls and our more experienced girls. And it's good because I think we've got our core that we think will take us to the premiership. And it's just about adding little bits here and there and getting more games. You're right, would you rather put more games into a Jess Wrench or someone like that who's going to be there and be a core in our premiership?
It's interesting as well, like for you, as you were saying, like your core though is still super young. So like the funny thing is if you compare it to the rest of the league, like, oh, their core is like, 26-year-olds, 27-year-olds. Like your core, like bar old Swanee, like is like really young. I have to get a heckle in on Swanee.
Ella Roberts is 19.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that actually blows me. So she's
like Bella just reached 50 games.
I think
Swanee reached 50. Like you know what I'm saying? Like the type of like legs and like games you're getting through, like even like that you've had to play, but even like Ella or like the young girls who are coming in and playing, like it's just going to be huge for the future.
I think we've said this on the pod before, but Ella is the same age as Harley, but she's played 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
she's
it's
played
insane.
like that many more games and has that like experience in the legs and that sort of thing. Do you see, you must love playing with her for a start. Do you see the two of you as being a really important part of that core?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I mean, anyone would love to have someone like Ella on their team just based off of the pure talent that she brings and also the excitement. Like we talk about what we want our competitive advantage to be, and for our best player, one of the comp's best players, to have that in her core and be excitement and bring that flair is a really important. And then, yeah, like the other girls, you have like me, Charlie, Beth Schilling, Zoe Wakevar, who've all come out into the scene. Like they're all 19, 20, 21. You think about what that core looks like. Courtney Rowley, like I could name off heaps that look when we're 23, 24, 25.
Insane.
What that looks like is...
Well, yeah, you're
And
playing
how
like
many games you've played.
you're playing like a 30-year-old as if you're a 30-year-old experienced player.
Yeah.
Like it's actually insanity the like place that you guys could go.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting because I think at the start for Eagles, I'm sure you would have felt this, like the grind of kind of losing. And it was kind of like, oh, are they going to come good? Like, are they, like, when's this going to turn? And I think, like, Daisy's got a lot of credit.
Yep.
And we've been we're a media outlet, so obviously we've been frothing her. But it's like, but when is it like, you guys have had this many games, like, your experience?
Yeah.
Like, is this just due to the fact that you guys got some incredible talents coming through, and now you've got a coach that gives you the confidence to just do it?
I think so, yeah. I think so. And Days hates the attention from, she's like, this is you girls, this is the program, like, and her ability to take our talent and play us to our strengths has been incredible.
Yeah.
And, but you're right, like a lot of it was to do with the club and our core, the core that stayed loyal last year and the year before, it was a massive credit to the club. And like I said in an interview when you were there, like, I saw the growth a couple of years ago. It was just about keeping adding to that core and getting the right, like we've got the right resources and the right facilities to be able to give players the development that they need. And one part of that was bringing Days in. So it's scary. It's scary to me, and I'm on the team to see what we could be like.
Yeah, and like for the trade now, it's like you've got, like before, I remember in the past, like talking to sellers, he's like, it's really hard to sell it because you're in Pearce, so if you're trying to get East Coast players, like you're all the way across, and like you're not showing like a great trajectory. Like now, like people looking at this being like, look at this core, like I want to be a part of this, this is going in a good direction.
Is that frustrating? Because like you said that you've seen the growth, but people outside didn't. Are you almost kind of been like, no, like, we'll come good. Like, did you feel that over the last couple of years?
Telling the family and friends, guys, like, guys, give me one more year.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of satisfying in a way, to be honest. Like, I've had heaps of like ex-coaches and all that kind of thing, like, oh, West Coast, like, rah. And I'm just sitting there like, you wait.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's like the evil person with the cat.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. And then,
Redemption story.
And it's probably the first year where we could possibly be like, oh no, we don't need you.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, please come.
Yeah, like help.
You know, and the fact that we've built that from our own club and the girls who've been drafted is, there's pride in that, definitely.
Before we move too far off Ella Roberts, I want to ask, what's her best position? Like, do you must love having her in the midfield.
This article is just going to be Bella trampolining Ella Roberts.
But you also must love kicking to her as well.
Yeah.
Can she play 50-50 split?
She can play 50-50 split. She would prefer to play more midfield time.
Okay.
I think perfect for her would be like a 70-30 kind of role.
Would you go forward?
I do go forward.
I was
yeah.
going to say, you've hit some incredible snaps
Yes.
and bananas this year.
Thank you.
Well, I must say. Which is always like, it was like, I'll see it on like Eagles, because I'm following Eagles loyal.
Yeah,
and
thank
then
you.
I'll see it on
Go
AFLW. So I'm just getting 2 times.
Yeah.
On the Insta, the
Yeah.
reels.
Yeah.
That's all my reels are. It's just Bella
You know you
Lewis
picked a
these
goodie
days.
when it's a reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you know you're important. It's
Yeah.
like Bella Lewis kicking banana, Bella Lewis on a trampoline. That's like my explore page.
Oh my God.
That's like, that's how I've done my research on this
I'm glad.
potty.
No, I love going forward, but
Yeah.
I can't mark like Ella can mark. So
No, she's serious
she's
aerial
a
ability.
Serious aerial ability. So I think I don't know. I'd say 70-30, and if
Okay.
we can get a key forward as
That's
well,
what I'm saying. The hope
helps.
would be
Yeah.
like you get a key forward who's a key forward who can
And then
also
she
have
can
aerial ability.
roll down and be that impact second or third tall.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Sub me in.
Christian Petrarca,
Yeah.
Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah.
Just get the Dukes up.
If you think that the Fremantle Dockers Next Generation Academy is only about footy, think again. It's also about giving young people the opportunity to realise there is the possibility to be great on and off the field. It's about helping young players develop and grow, and as the official NGA partner, Woodside is supporting this dream from grassroots to greatness. Growing Freo's pool of talent to feed the AFLW and AFL, and always cheering our next generation on. Woodside Energy, supporting local footy.
Couple of other girls that have had excellent years. One is, I reckon Beth Schilling's been like maybe the breakout player of the competition.
God.
I tipped her for the Rookie of the Year.
All right,
equivalent.
hero.
The rising star.
Yes.
If she doesn't get that, I'm going to have some
She's-
serious words.
She's
with
she's
the
most
AFL.
she's most improved.
I
She's had an
also
unreal year.
picked you for best and fairest for the league. I said
She's playing favourites
Oh,
here.
I said,
Jesus
yeah, no, it
Christ.
was. All of them were Eagles. I was like, yeah, just to put some forward. See, Bass looking at me like, okay. I was like, okay. So also maybe like Ebony Marinoff. You know what I'm saying? Could go either way there.
Marinoff. Yeah. Close.
I can't remember what the question was. Beth Schilling.
Yes.
Yes.
Beth.
How nice is it to have, like, you've obviously had Charlie down there for a couple of years,
Yep.
but you'd love her moving the ball and doing some other bits and
Yes.
pieces. Having Beth as like that lockdown, like super reliable defender, that must be nice.
Oh, yeah. And it's given Charlie the ability to, like you said, be really elite with her ball use,
Yeah.
which has alleviated that kind of pressure off her, which is really good. But she's just like, we call her the silent assassin. Like, she doesn't speak. And then,
really?
Yeah, but she started to come out of her shell. She's just very, very calm, so nice, so lovely. But, behind closed doors, she's just like a cracker.
Yeah.
And the way she goes and plays, like, I think she played on Caitlin Greiser against Richmond, and she was just getting into her absolutely, like hitting
You
her.
love that though. You love it when the quiet ones are just actually just
Yeah.
behind closed doors.
Yeah, but
just
then
wild.
she comes off the field after, and we were like, "Oh my God!" She was like, "That was incredible." And she was like, "No, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I don't want to hurt her." So that's just like the kind of gal she is. But every single week she had one good game, and you're like, "Wow, she was another good game, another good game." Like, the consistency in her, like her and Zoe, I think it will be the twin towers in next year, the year. Like, they're just both of them are incredible. But
I think your Richmond win, I was going to ask you what you think your best win was, but I reckon my favourite AFLW game for the year was the Richmond win.
Oh,
really?
Because
Yeah.
you'd have people like Beth Schilling, who was like in and out of the side last year, and then suddenly it's like this Friday night game, and it's like, oh, she's a good player.
Bang.
And there was so many,
Yeah.
and it's like, Drennan's a good pickup, Hosking's a good pickup, Kelly Gibson's in good nick, and then suddenly you're just like, whoa,
That was a
like
smart
Eagles
play.
are, Eagles
that was a
are
smart
good.
play by Kelly.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you.
I was at the game because
Yeah.
once again,
Loyal.
supporter, and
In your jumper.
in my, I'm like, Cowan, I'm ready.
bring me back.
Bring me back. I've been getting DMs. Nah. And I had my my boyfriend was there, and he's American, so he's never watched footy before, and particularly female footy, and that was his first game. And he was stoked.
That's unreal.
And I was like, because I was like hell stressed because like they went and kicked the goal, and I'm like, no, and he's like actual reacting, and I'm like, wow.
was he?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you've met him, so he doesn't give much of a reaction, but he was like really shocked, and that was when I was like, this is like a brand of footy that like a stranger who doesn't even understand the game is like, this is like so exciting of a game.
That's awesome.
And it was like, it was insane. It was an insane game. Good by Kelly,
so good.
Great
Kelly.
game of footy.
dude.
game.
Great game.
Do you remember where you were when you first got wind that the club might be into Daisy Pearce?
Yeah, there was a couple. There was, I think I'd heard a rumour personally, and I was like, whatever, come on,
Yeah.
back it off. And then I think I'd mentioned it to Michelle, and I was like, I heard this rumour, and she kind of like.
Oh, she gave you a reaction, did she?
But like,
when you've kind of got someone,
Yeah,
but they can't tell
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's very good poker face, but I was like, okay. Anyway, didn't think anything of it. And then we went to the W Awards last year, and we went to the airport the next morning, and Days was at the airport going on the same flight with her family. Back to Perth.
To Perth.
Yeah.
Vacation days.
And so all the girls like, oh my God, like still didn't really, because they were like, it can't be true. Like we've just had the worst luck the past 5 years. There's just no way. And now we've spoken to her about it now, and she was like really nervous, and she was going to try and hide, but she ended up going up and saying hi and whatever.
She's going to try and hide.
Yeah. And so she said hi, like hello, la, and then went over, and the club was on complete lockdown when she went and did her tour, and all hush hush. And then I remember I was working at Rebel at the time, and we just got.
And
this,
she came in.
Yeah,
She came in and said, "Nice to meet you. I'll be your coach next year."
And she said, "I'm actually just here for some boots, if that's
yeah,
okay."
that's all good. And I've opened it, and it's like a video, and she's like recording, the coaches do, Eagles polo.
Oh, right.
Was that
Hey,
for the
team.
players or
Yeah. Hey
Wow.
team, and then I've been on the phone to Swanee. I'm like almost crying. I'm like, I don't even know her. Like, why am I crying?
Well, we had Swanee on, and Swanee's like, all the girls were like super like stoked, and Swanee's quite honest. She's like, I was like more competitive with her.
Yeah, she
like,
was.
Swanee was like more like, I'm going to prove that I was better. And I'm like,
we talk about. She spoke about the Melbourne game. Hey, she would have. Yeah, we talk about that with Days all the time, and we're always like, remember that? Remember when you embarrassed us? Because she was the one. I don't know if Swanee told the story, but when we played them, they were at, I think, 99, and we were at 2 points, and they had to get 1 point to get the record.
Yeah.
And Dazed was the one screaming out, "Get the record, go for gold, girls!" And so we're just like,
come on.
absolutely feel like we're naked, like so amazing.
Yeah.
So we always talk about that with Days, but she's so competitive that she's like, yeah,
Let's just do
I'll do it again.
yeah, I'll do it again.
Knowing you, I'd still do it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What?
Like,
So you hadn't met her, but what was Daisy Pearce to you like as a footballer and as like a beacon for women's footy?
it was weird. Like I obviously knew her, and I know what she'd done for the game. And I think I'd met her once, maybe at some event or whatever. But I didn't realise how big of a deal it was until she became our coach. And like the feelings that I got was not what I had thought, just because I didn't know her. But she's just always been a pioneer. And what we heard most about her was how humble she was and how collaborative. And that's exactly like what people say about her. That's what she is. And she's just so overly humble, so collaborative, so like really relationships based, and it's definitely her strength.
And coming off male coaches, it obviously also was a thing to be like, okay, the game's progressing in a place where someone who's a pioneer, who knows women's football, who knows and has coached women and understands women, is coming in. That's got to be, as much as like it's hard to say, like to coach women and to coach men is like a very different like player relationship, and it's a very different game as well. I think like Daisy understands that, whereas like, Eagles were insourcing when they got Pryor, and that's like a male coach. And like to get a female coach in who gets women, gets how they think, it's just like, it's got to be relieving, right?
Yeah, well, she just gets it. Like that's what we say. We're like, she just gets it. Like she's a gal. She's one of us. You know what I mean? Like, and she's played, so there's like that element of it as well. Like even having a female coach in who hasn't necessarily played, like that's then another advantage.
Yeah.
Because she understands everything, and she's so vulnerable with us about her experiences in playing, which then you're like, oh, you're not Daisy Pearce, like you're just Days to us.
Right, exactly,
which is made a world of difference. And the ways that she coaches is not like, I think in men's footy maybe it's like a one size fits all. Not anymore. I know like it's evolving, but she's very much like, how does this person learn? How does this person learn? How can we, manufacture that?
There was like an interesting quote that they did in like basketball, and it's like, you don't need for women coaching to beat up the women and tell them what they did wrong. They know what they did wrong. You need to explain what they need to do. And it's just like a biological like difference that how women receive information compared to men. But like that difference, if you don't understand it, is huge.
Yeah.
Because if I'm beating up on Bella because she's done something wrong, but she's already in her head about it, like that's not leading to a confident player. That's not leading to someone who transitions into like a confidence thing. But if you like understand that difference, and it can be from a male, but it's the understanding of the difference, right?
100%.
Do girls in the program now talk about a potential transition to coaching? Because it's such a common thing in the men. It's like, yeah, I might do some coaching, and there's what, 3? So Arnell, Webby, and Daisy that have played. Is that a thing now? Like, do girls in the system see that as a career path?
Yeah, I think so. We've definitely got a couple of girls who are really into it. Tildy being one of them.
Yeah, I've been saying her. Like she's got insane IQ.
Oh, she'd be an unreal coach.
Okay.
And she's been on the bench with us, and her calmness and composure as well. Like that is also, I think, what makes a coach so good is their calmness and composure ability to explain. And Tildy's got that in spades.
She's a teacher.
She's a teacher gal. And then Charlie's another one who could be who does lots of like programs and coaching stuff in the community. So definitely, way more than there would have been a couple of years ago.
Well, there's just more leagues and opportunities. Like Perth Coast Sedgenary. I can't. I just call it Sedge.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know how to pronounce the last name. But Sedge is now coaching, and she's going to come back to Perth and coach. Like there's now a pathway. Like that's Waffle W, and then there's lower levels. So there's youth girls and stuff like that. So there's opportunities for like coaching, which there hasn't been in the past.
And she's got the toughest job in the league. She's got to teach Seabass how to kick.
She's got to teach Seabass how to bounce.
Yeah.
Even handball. I reckon just get the handball down.
She just gets the tap
She just needs to have
license.
100 hit outs again.
Yeah, that's all.
Surely. I mean, we did research on it. Like the next Waffle W ruck size is I think 4 inches smaller.
Oh,
Really?
What's that in?
Yeah.
What's
So
that?
So she's I think the tallest ruck one might be 6'1", and Seabass is 6'4", 6'5".
Jeez, right.
She'll be a
And
bully.
she's long.
She's long.
She's gonna kill it.
Your last press conference for the year, you said that you want to be a one-club player.
Yeah.
How do you come to that decision, and is it the growth that you mentioned? Is that a big factor in that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever been a decision.
Okay.
It's just kind of always been. I've been here since I was 17, and the club's looked after me and in my development and my growth, and to repay them, it sounds
There's a
cliche.
loyalty in that,
There's a loyalty in that. But yeah, I don't. It's never been a decision. It's always just been contracts up, sign another. Contracts up, sign another. And I can't see that changing, but the growth for sure. Obviously, you want to play in a successful team, and I did always believe that we had the bones of that we just needed to grow in it. And now that I've seen it again, it gets easier, to be honest.
How much of it all is the growth of the league as well? So as the league grows, you spend more time in the week and more time in the year at the footy club. How much more does it become obviously professional, but also a bit of a family and just kind of what you do, if that makes sense?
Definitely. And my first year, I think, the contract, I think I was on, I don't know if this is confidential, I was on 18 grand or something in my first year. And the change from...
Not livable.
Yeah, not livable.
That's why she was a rebel.
Not.
Yeah, exactly. And the hours would have been only night trainings we were doing. It was 2-3 times a week. And the standard of what the product that you get is... it's obviously not going to be up to the standard of what people expect. And the growth that, has been shown in the league has been unreal. And you also have, moving pretty much, we're full-time. I'd say our team is pretty much full-time. The girls a couple of years ago probably couldn't be doing that. So we had heaps of teachers, about Stubbsy, Paz, those kind of girls. They didn't have, I don't know, almost the drive when they grew up to be this can be a real career, and I'm going to put everything
or even
that I
the
can.
financial freedom to think that. It's with the way the pay was, it's how am I going to be a professional athlete in this capacity while also these older girls who aren't living at home, who have a husband and kids and stuff like that. They're I got to pay the bills.
Exactly.
You must be so appreciative of people like Daisy that played at Darebin Falcons for 15 years and won 180 premierships, for doing the graft.
Yes, definitely. And Jane Cooper's another one.
Yeah.
Mate, yeah, she's incredible.
Unreal. She doesn't get spoken about enough. I'm biased, but I remember sitting down with her and like she would just tell me stories in my first couple of years, and I'm like, you're a mad woman. Like,
Yeah, she's
just the
insane.
things that she used to do, just walk into AFL House and a boardroom in a bunch of men and just like tell them what she thought. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're
Yeah.
a queen. Like,
No, she genuinely is great. She was like, when I was there, she was like because she was like kind of the pioneer of the Eagles setting it up, and they put her kind of like in charge to oversee it. And she was like, just even like her life experience, man, like, and just talking to her and like the way she saw things. Like, she's the one who told me to go to America.
Coopsy, what the hell?
Yeah, she's the one who did, because she's like but that's what I'm saying. Like, she's just like, she doesn't prioritize herself or anything. Like, she's just like a person to person. She's gonna give advice like the wise woman she is.
Yeah.
Like,
Is Rosie best 18 if she came back to the club?
What position would you be in?
half forward.
Oh, really?
That's what I played for. Thinger. All I have is my ability to jump and mark.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Just clear out the forward line for her.
Clear it, yeah, we'll isolate you in the goal square.
I will take a specky.
Get her in the cage.
I will attempt to specky. That was like when I was training with Eagles when I was 17. It was like when Eric McKenzie was there and all that type of stuff. I'd just make Eric wear like the thing, and I'd just try to get as high on his shoulders as I could. And he's like, I don't know how much this is going.
Well,
Just show real stuff. Yeah.
And then like Til's got like videos of me just like 7 attempts of a specky. And like they're like, all right, Rosie, let's move on. And I'm like,
no. Well,
This
now
is
the
what I need
prize
to
is
do.
50 grand, so you want
For
to keep
mark of the
practicing
year.
that. Yeah, and goal of the year.
really?
So Westy could be
Are
up there
you
for goal
up?
of the year.
Are you up for goal of the year? You've had some good ones.
No, I didn't get nominated for that. Yeah,
ridiculous.
but Westy did. So
For her one.
for that one last week against Sydney.
Yeah. Multiple efforts for sure.
Multiple efforts.
Yeah.
You know what used to be a petrol card for the year?
Oh, really? That I know. No, I know you're trashing
I'd get
that.
so
That'd be
much. I'd get so much use out of
that
that.
would be so helpful.
Yeah.
As in free petrol.
Yeah. And you'd
That'd
give
be
it.
sick. I'd take
You'd
that.
give it to your mates.
I'd
and,
take that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I reckon
No,
you'd
I
get
just
so much
run
out
it
of
up.
Or 2 million velocity points, pretty good.
that. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Anywhere with that.
Yeah, you could. Wow. I will come back to this. Yes.
Something to
Rosie,
think about.
Rosie, what compelled you? Oh, I heard about a fuel card and some points.
I need that
could get
specky bag back.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah. Eric, get back at the club. We're going another year.
22 under 22 this month as well.
Mm-hmm.
Having quite a few plays in that must be pretty awesome, because that's not something the club's had previously.
No, yeah, we've had like a couple rising stars, and I think there was 3 of us last year for
Yep.
22.
The 5 this year.
4, I think.
4, yep.
It's me, Charlie, Ella, and Shills.
Yep.
Yeah. And could have been more, to be honest. But yeah, again, that's showing the growth of the youth, and just getting more games into them, and what that does is great.
We mentioned Ebony Marinoff before, and Rosie Matt had a shocking attempt at pronouncing her name.
Marinoff?
Marinoff.
What did I say?
Marina.
Marinoff?
Who do you reckon is the best player in the comp at the moment? Who's the hardest midfielder to play against?
Oh, well, we haven't. I would have been interested to see Adelaide.
Yeah.
But Hawthorn, I don't know. I find it hard because I feel like what the game's becoming now is like you can't just stop one midfielder. So
That's what
used
you
to
guys
be-
have now, which is
yeah,
sick.
which we're building,
Yeah.
which is really good. But like Hawthorn, say for example, like
Yeah.
we were like, who do we be mindful of? All 3 of them, you have to be really.
Yeah.
But in the comp, you'd say Ebony Marinoff for sure. And then there's some like sneaky ones. I hate playing on Meg Kaufman from Freo.
Really?
I hate
Okay.
playing on her. She's just so strong, and she just hits
yeah.
me.
You know she was a tennis player.
Really?
She was number 9 ranked, and I did a story on her this week. Number 9 ranked NCAA doubles player.
That's really.
She went to
impressive.
college.
Wow.
She went to college,
Wow.
and then she came back to Perth and played 8 games for Wembley Amos, and the Dockers drafted her after
That's
that.
unreal.
Yeah, incredible
Wembley's-
story.
Talk about rough
But
diamonds.
that's Paz's. Paz is doing a ground up operation now. I think they're like 4-time premiers or something.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
All right, we've got to let you go. Thank you so much for coming in.
All right, hey, stop there.
Congratulations on your season. And it's good to have another friend of the show in the top 10.
Yeah.
So we had
We're
a lot of
trying to
friends of the show in the
accumulate-
top 10,
Oh, yeah.
and now we're like going back and getting the
Yeah.
others,
Yeah,
collecting
okay.
them all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good.
And then now we're just doing it in hindsight, trying to get them.
Yeah.
So
then
who
we
do you
could-
need now? Do you need Ella?
We need Ella. We need Mim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like-
Mim's a pretty busy gal.
Pretty
I'd
busy
say.
gal. I'm just going to get her at a thrift store when she's going for another suit. I'm just going to do a BT on the run interview. Try to get her in. Maybe I'll DM her.
Roaming Rosie at the Fremantle op shops, Coburn op shops.
Just waiting for him to get some random people. Like, not you. This isn't for Channel 7. I'm looking for a tall gal.
Tall gal.
That's all.
All right, let's do it. Bella, thank you very much for coming in. Congrats on your year, and we'll see you next season.
All good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Can't wait for your best and fairest. I picked you.
I'm not.
I picked
way.
What a great chat. It's always awesome to have the athletes in studio, and we've been so grateful to have them give up their time this year to join us. That is our episode for this week. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can listen and watch this podcast on YouTube Music, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. Rosie, we've got 2 more episodes left to go this season, and we have 2 awesome interviews lined up. I'm starting pre-season footy tonight. Have you got any tips for me?
I'd say try and make contact with the ball and the kicks. Very simple. But I'd say utilise the height, That's why you're there.
I feel like you guys have sunk the boot into me so many times over the last 3 episodes. I actually just go out there and run around and maybe touch the ball. I'll be happy.
I just do think that you're going to have a breakout year, though. I have commented on this simply because I think you're just simply taller than everyone and you can catch the ball.
Thanks. My expectations are 0, and
just do the handball.
I hope I don't break anything. That's what I'm aiming for. Knock on wood. Leave us a rating and review us. Tell your mates. We'd love to hear from you, and we will catch you next week with all the chats from AFLW. This podcast is brought to you by Woodside Energy, helping young players develop and grow as the official sponsor of the Fremantle Dockers Next Generation Academy. Woodside Energy, supporting local footy.